life coach Martina, also book editor Martina. And I just wanted to pop in because I haven't done anything, I haven't posted anything about book editing in a while, so I just kind of wanted to cover, I wanted to cover some information on book editing. So I hope you guys can see me pretty well. Okay, so I have been working with some authors, and a lot of common questions kind of come up, and I think that a lot of times when you have never written a book before, or you have written a book before but maybe had a really bad book editing experience, that there's some questions that you need to do in the interviewing process while you're looking for the book editor that works for you. So I just wanted to share some common questions that you need to ask the person that's actually editing your book, especially if you're going with someone that's a professional editor. And I just kind of want to take a moment to just kind of go over that with you, to help you possibly even save thousands of dollars as you are perfecting this beautiful work that you've spent so much time on. Just want to kind of let you know about the process and how it works. It's different with every business on the way that works for their company based on their brand, but there's some commonalities that you need to know. So the first question that you really need to ask is, what type of editing do you do? It's always this assumption that all book editors edit the same, and it is not so at all. I've said this in my last I guess video about book editing, is that there's so many different types of editing. There's proofreading, there's structural, and there's development, and there are probably some other stylistic ones as well, but those are the three basic, right? And so a lot of times when people are looking for an editor, they go, of course, you're going to go with the one that seemingly is cheaper. But if somebody's charging you somewhere between $50 to $75 or even $80, chances are they're just proofreading your work. They're not looking at the style in which you're writing in. They're not looking at the structure in which you're writing. They're not even looking to see if you're a good writer. They're not looking at any of those things. They're just looking at the concept of, okay, do is there a comma that's supposed to go here? Do I need to dot your I's and cross your T's? And that's essentially it. And some of them offer formatting. And so that's it. That's all you're getting for anywhere from $60 to $80. It's not telling you that if your content is good. Hi, like Lady Ruba. Hello. It's not even telling you if your content is any good, or if your ideas are flowing, or things are gelling. It's not telling you anything, okay? And so people think that they have their writing and it's been edited and everything's great because they paid about $50 to $80 for it, and they put this product out, and it's really not an example of your best work. Now, some people are professional writers, and if you are a professional writer, you'll do this work and you just want an extra set of eyes to look at your work to make sure that it's up to par. So you may not need all those extra things. It's up to you and what you feel like you need to based on your writing skills and things of that nature. Structural. You definitely want an editor that does structural writing. That's going to cost you more. The more you're going to ask, because it's more grammatical. Okay, they're going to really look at your grammar. They're going to look at your sentence flow. They're going to catch your run-on sentences. They're going to really look at, hey, does this paragraph make sense? They're going to look at that context. All right, they're context editors. And then you have your developmental, which could be clearly almost $1,000 to $2,000 depending on your project, how big your project is. If you're doing a book that's 100 pages long, or 80 pages, just really kind of depends on your book. And so developmental is such a wide frame, because you're essentially asking someone to almost rewrite aspects about your book, because developmental could go into ghostwriting. It could go into even author development at that point. It could be like, I can change this whole chapter if I want to. And so developmental is scaled differently. And a lot of times when book editors do developmental writing, they charge by the hour. because it's very labor intensive. Oh yes, let me repeat. They charge by the hour, and they can charge anywhere like to $150 plus per hour. And if they're hourly chargers, if their rate is hourly, hi Colleen, CEO chick, hey sis. If they are charging by the hour, then and ask them specifically, how many pages can you go through in an hour? And they'll give you a guesstimation. My best advice to some of the new authors or authors, thank you, Colleen. God bless you. Thank you so much. So do you, mommy. You look amazing. Congratulations on all your success. My whole thing is my best advice for anyone that is looking for developmental. You may want to pay by the project versus the hour, okay? Because developmental can get really pricey really quickly, especially if you're not a strong writer, especially if you're a new author. All those type of things, you get pricey really, really quickly. So I recommend that you try to negotiate per project if they don't have per project prices. Now with my company, LCM Editorial Services, I do everything by the project at this point, but I do 100 pages or less. So I work with very skillful writers and people who are brand new writers, and so it really just depends. And our deal is $250 across the board currently, right? So I've been doing that since I think December. So currently that seems to be working, especially people coming from the pandemic. That's a good price, especially if you need developmental. Especially if you need a developmental. And a lot of times people didn't go to school for writing, or take some writing workshops too. If you're going to be serious about your writing career, if you're going to continue to write books, do some writing workshops and develop who you are as a writer, because you developing yourself is going to make it cheaper down the road as you are editing your books, and you'll be able to tell your story. Because let me tell you, some of these editors out here are not looking to have your voice. They're not looking for your style, because one of those things when it comes to developmental and structural editing, you are reading the person's work to find the heart of who they are. I spend a lot of time with my authors. I like to get to know them, the passion for their project, why they're writing this, what is the mission, what's the vision, what they're trying to do, and I get to know them and I get a sense of who they are. With having a sense of who they are, then it helps me to be able to edit their book properly, because if I edit it in my voice and in my word choices, all of a sudden your reader is going to realize someone else is writing your book. So they hear chapter 1 through 3 and then chapter 4 sounds totally different. You're going to lose your reader. So a good book editor is going to try to follow the style and the heart and the voice of the actual author. And it takes a little bit of time to get to know that author. I'm not expecting, us to just have a million lunches, but just to have enough, have a tuned ear, and when you're reading, to have tuned in eyes and say, okay, they write in this type of flow, or they write conversationally. And a lot of times conversational writing makes sense when you're telling a story, but sometimes conversational writing can confuse the reader as you're telling the story. So this is why you always want to develop yourself as a writer, and don't always put all your trust and all your cares onto the editor, and then get mad when your work doesn't come out the way that you don't want it to, even though you paid. You are paying for someone else to put their breath on your project. You want to make sure that you are as skilled as possible. Now, I don't want to deter any new writers from, going out there and say, hey, I never went to writing school, I never did this, so I'm not going to write a book. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying grow as a writer. Continue to grow as a writer. And pick a book editor that's really good at working with new authors. Make sure. And that's the next question you want to ask them is, do you work or have an expertise with new authors? Because they may say, oh yes, we work with everyone, da-da-da. But you'll be able to tell based on the first or second meeting if they work with new authors based on their patience level. You'll be able to know based on how much tutelage they offer. Because new authors have no clue on what to expect, what to ask. They're just like, okay, whatever you charge, okay, that's what it is. I'm gonna do what God told me to do. I'm gonna put out this project, okay. Don't do that. Ask questions. You are the consumer. Ask questions, okay? Be very clear and be very honest about where you are in your writing, because you could tell me a whole lot of stuff in our conversation, but the truth is in the pudding. If I read your work and it doesn't line up with what you told me, then I know, be honest. Just be honest about your work and just say, hey, I went on my voice recorder and I recorded this whole thing, and that's fine too. But if you're going to do if you're developing a book from transcription, go through your transcription and to as much of your own personal editing as possible. And I'm telling you, if you don't do that, you're gonna pay $15K, not $15K, but $15,000. I want to say $15,000, $1,500. Sorry, I'm thinking $15K, but you're gonna pay about $1,500 plus, just because the person's taking time to go through all your writing and take out all the ums and the huh and the and all that, and they're taking all that stuff out. So do your best to be able to do as much as you can with taking as much stuff out of your writing. Because I'm telling you, I know we get excited about our projects and we want it to come out like this, but at the end of the day, you want something you're super proud of, okay? So the next question you're gonna ask them is about turnaround time. How long does it take you to get my book out? And I'm going to tell you, it really depends on how organized your book is, and it's going to depend on how busy that book editor is, right? So here's that question of the proof. So you want to ask them, when can you start working on my project? So they can say, I can start tomorrow, or I can start today, or I can start by Friday. So always find out when, right? And next thing is be open if it takes a minute. Because if your project requires developmental and you're paying for that, that means that you're going to have to go ahead and hand them that project right on back to them, okay? You're going to say, okay, I'm reading this. You said this in chapter 1, but chapter 3, we're somewhere else. I'm going to need you to write another chapter to segue us to chapter 3. And then the project's on pause, because now we're waiting, the book editor, the staff, we're waiting for you to create new content so that we can continue to edit your book. So I'm just telling that for new authors. Don't get get offended and your feelings are wrapped up because your editor hands you back your project and says continue working on it. Don't be offended and say, oh, I'm going to take my project somewhere else, because you're going to pay so much in ghostwriting. So take your time, come up with as much as you can, do the very best that you can, and say, hey, this is the best I can do. And feel free to talk with your editor and say, hey, I wrote this, what do you think about that? Having a good relationship with your editor is very, very important. Here's the problem. Some editors charge for their consultations. You want to get a package. If you are a new author and inexperienced, get a package. That means you can talk to your editor as much as you need to in order to get your project. Because chances are, let me tell you, after your first couple books, your third book, you're going to know your flow, you're going to be better at writing, you're going to be better at telling stories, okay? And you're not going to need to be as much walked through the process as much as you would after you've written a couple books, all right? Because some books are just really super easy to edit, because a person, they're in tune with their readership. You have an audience. You know who your audience is. You speak well to your audience. You know how to tell your story well. And really, you're just looking to make sure that someone is just packaging you correctly, okay? And so those books can go as quickly as a week. Honestly, you can go depending on how long it is, right? But then, like I said, if you're an inexperienced writer, it may take a while. So don't feel offended if you have to go back and write some more, all right? Because at the end of the day, the editor wants to show your project too, because it helps them get business, right? Nobody wants to say I edited someone's book and it wasn't the best product that could have came out, right? So you want both sides. Both sides want to be proud of the project. You as the creator, and of course the person who's the editor, okay? Prices. Ask ask about prices. There are editors who charge by the word, by the page, and by the project. By the word tends to be more proofreading, okay? And usually they go anywhere from 3 to 10 cents a word. So, you know, and some people they charge 1 cent a word. That's really cheap for 1 cent a word. But the average is between 3 to 10 cents. 10 cents I think is kind of pricey. But, you know, that's by the word, and it tends to mostly be proofreading. I don't like it by the word. I don't charge by the word. Some people charge by the line. I don't do that either, because I could go a whole page and not edit your work, you know, and say, hey, this whole page is great. Let's go to the next page. So to me, I think it's unfair. I mix mine between the project and the page because I do developmental. So I'll say it's $250, but if you get to 100 pages, we're gonna have to talk. You know, we have to negotiate. So that's where I am, and that's cheap. That's cheap, depending, especially if you're a new author. That's cheap. Okay, that's a deal. I won't be running that deal always, but that's a deal for now. Okay. If you got questions, you can put them at the bottom. I don't want to just keep talking and you don't have questions. So you can definitely put those up there too. All right. Ask them if they charge for consultation. When I say consultation, the initial consultation is to read your project. I would recommend asking. You know, to read your project and to get that overview of what your project's gonna need. You may want to do that before jumping into a whole editing experience. So you might say, hey, how much will you charge just to read my book and tell me what you think about it, and tell me how much work is involved in editing, what I need to do before going into this whole editing experience. And they may charge you anywhere from $50 to $150, all right? And say, hey, just to read it and give you advice, cool, $150, give me about 3 days. I'll read your book, okay? And you want to be able to, don't be afraid to ask questions that have, you know, ask for a price range that even they don't promote. Because, you know, that might be their growing package at that point, but book editors, you can always negotiate with them. Now you may say, this is my price and that's it. Proofreaders don't tend to negotiate that much because they're so cheap. I'm not to say they're cheap, and I don't say cheap, I don't mean like that, but just inexpensive. It doesn't cost that much just to proofread. So chances are they're, you know, to get them to below $50, you get what you pay for it, unless it's like your cousin, your friend, your hookup that's just hooking you up because they want to be a blessing to you. But if somebody talking about $35, run. Do not, unless you know them. You know, and you know they're good, I don't know, it's a risk. Because you're going to probably pay again to have somebody else read over their work because you're not sure. That's too cheap. I recommend going rate, respectable, is $50 to $80. Okay, for just proofreading. All right, so you want somebody to read your stuff. Here's my thing. Don't give them the entire book unless you trust them. So here's a mistake for a lot of new authors. A lot of times they'll give too much of their work. And then you get a book editor that doesn't have the character for what they're doing, and people have stolen people's books. I hate to say it, but people have. They've stolen people's books and rewrote them and published them. I've seen it. It's been horrible. I have seen it. And because a lot of times people will send work that's not copyrighted, there's nothing you can do. You can tell them record all you want to, but because he said, she said, and the person is making all this money on a perfected book. Okay, I'm just gonna keep it 100. It's really super sad. So what I would recommend to protect you and your intellectual property is to have a sample chapter that best displays your work. A sample chapter, maybe even a preface page, a couple of preface pages, and a sample chapter, right? Yes, Prophet Javon. Yes, Prophet. Yes, it can be very treacherous. Yes, absolutely. So protect your intellectual property. Maybe have a preface page. Maybe have like a really good chapter that really exemplifies your project. Or if I was a new writer, I would pick my chapter that I struggled the most with, and I would see how much they charge me, You know, I'll be like, okay, this chapter doesn't flow that great. I don't know how to fix it. Okay, I'm gonna hand them this chapter. I'll give them the introduction. I'm gonna hand them that. Like, that's what I would do as a new writer. I would hand them my difficult chapter, and or my highly emotional chapter that I'm not sure if my readers would identify with. My tricky chapter. I would do it if I would. I mean, that's opinion, but that's what I would do, just to see what they would recommend for fixing that chapter, and stylistically what they would think, because I'm like, okay, it's not my best, but that's what I need you for, to help me fix it. So, and if the advice they give me is not going to help me, and if they're telling me stuff that's just, it seems like if I did business with them, it'd be a waste of money, so that you can weed out what editor works for you. You got to find one that flows with you. If you're a inspirational writer or a faith-based writer, you want to try to find an inspirational faith-based book editor, because you want somebody who can understand what you're saying. It's hard to edit someone's book if you don't understand what they're saying. Likewise, if you're writing a technical book, you don't want to pick somebody that doesn't know anything about technical writing. And so you got to ask them, what type of genres do you specialize in? That's another great question. So if they say any genre, make them name some. Because they want some money. Make them name some. Okay, awesome. You have a good experience with your publisher? Wonderful. Make them name some of their, of the places that they actually, or the different books and the different types that they actually have worked with. It's okay if the company is just, one person. Because, they might have been, I've been doing book editing on and off for many years since I was an undergrad. Like 20K, keep saying 20K. It must be a money season. I receive it in Jesus' name. But like 20, plus years. So I've been doing it a long time, but another thing I would recommend is, and like for myself, I have staff people that have specializations as well. So if I get a lot of inquiries about certain stuff, like people who want manuals, or people who want, they want their business plans edited or written or things like that, not just books. I have people who specialize in those things that work for me. So that works it, but make people tell you what they've done. And if they're experienced, they should have copies of the work. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's so much that I've edited over the years that I never got credit for. And that's because I was, I just did it. Hey, would you edit this for me? Because I was a journalism major. Sure, I'll edit it for you. And I would edit stuff for people and I keep it moving and I wouldn't get credit for it. So if you're a book editor, I highly recommend you getting credit for what you've edited. I highly recommend it. And the reason is because the author could say, I don't want to name you and I don't want to name your company. They have the right, but you need to set a standard as an editor to say, if you're going to work with me, I need those credits. And the reason why is me working with other professionals, contracting with other companies, book editing for a lot of different organizations. They want to see your work and they're going to look to find your name in the work. And if you can say, I edited 100 books, if your name is not on the work, that you could be lying, okay? And they're looking at you like, that's not a writing sample we can use. So if you're a serious book editor, then make sure you have some type of understanding, contract, agreement, whatever, with your author to make sure that your name is in the credits for that. If you want your business to get to level, there were so many books I did not, I didn't do that with, because honestly I didn't know any better, and I was just helping out, and I did it a lot just to do it because I was a journalism major. But as I realized I got more serious as a book editor and started really learning my craft and the business better, I realized, man, had I known better, I would probably have over 100 books under my name by now. So I highly recommend, as people moving forward, if you're serious in this industry, get your credits. Okay. I think I pretty much said everything. Those are the basics. So this is pretty much stuff you need when you're shopping. You know, when you're shopping for a book editor, when you're trying to find somebody that gels with you. Have questions. Don't always expect them to give you the whole spiel. I feel like it's best to empower authors to be able to present their work at the best light that they can, and to protect your intellectual property. It's always good to even just kind of copyright what you got, just to be on the safe side. And you can always send a revision. But you know, it's up to you how you guys want to handle that. But if you're still in the writing phases, at least just have that sample chapter. So if they're stupid enough to run with it, it's not, it's not your whole work. So I recommend you do as much homework on that person as possible. Google people. Google them to find out if there's bad reviews on their book editing too, So it's a lot of stuff you could do. But I just wanted to recommend that. I'm open for questions. If anyone has any questions on information that you need to ask when you're looking for a book editor or anything like that. Oh yeah, you can also have more than one person edit your book. A lot of people do that. Have more than one person edit their book. I have a staff person, so I have staff. So I'm not just the only pair of eyes looking at work. So I have a staff of people that work on my projects. So they'll look at it, and then I'll look at it, then they'll look at it, and then I have you read it, make sure everything's the way you want it before we move on to the next phase. I don't format. At this juncture, I don't, and that's because there's so many publishing companies, because I'm not a publishing company, I'm an editorial service. So there's publishing companies that do it for you. There's software that do it for you, and so I don't offer that. I don't design covers, but I do have a company that I do recommend to people that do, and so you can do that on your own. But my whole focus is the content, because that's what people are going to do. They're going to look at your content, and they're going to be inspired by that. And then too, you have to decide if your book is going to be an audio book, if it's going to be on all the major platforms, it's going to be sold on Amazon. You got to think of marketing. What are you going to do with your book? Some people want to come out with 4 books at one time. That's too much. You need somebody that can kind of guide you, especially if you're a brand new author. How do you grab my audience? Because you can have 1 million books and nobody read them. And that's so hard for an author to have a project that nobody wants to read. But sometimes you have those projects because you come up with them so much that people don't have time to digest them. Essentially, it takes a year to really promote a project. But I'm not saying that only come out with 1 book a year, but wait at least 2 or 3 months before you come up with a second project. And if you're going to come out with a double project, look, I'm giving y'all some really good stuff. If you're going to come out with a double project, make sure they connect. Branding is really huge. Marketing is huge with books. And don't just put your book out on Amazon and think that that's it. You're going to have to promote your book. You're going to do podcasts. You're going to have to go out there. Things are opening up. So you're probably going to do TV shows, stuff like that, radio programs, all kinds of stuff. Put some books in the back of your car. Go to the thrift stores and the flea markets and sell your books. Have multiple, opportunities to put your book out there. You're gonna be your own book hustler for your book. You understand? So don't think that if you just have 1 book, that's it. Take your time. Make sure that second book rocks. Make sure your next book is the thing. It's the it from your first book. And if you're talented enough to write in various genres, that's a whole other thing too, because not everyone's interested in every genre you having to be styled in writing. You may consider yourself having to have a different name for each genre you write in. Let's say you write mystery, you might have another author name. And maybe you write finance for the other book and you have your real name. It's up to you. So there's a lot of things to think about if you're going to be a serious author. And you need to make sure that you have an organization behind you as far as book editing that can grow with you and help you develop a readership. Any questions? Because that's about it. I don't even know how long we've been talking for. Well, I've been talking for. But do you want to have any questions or even comments? Because I saw some good comments. Leslie, I need this. This is why my book isn't out. Can't find an editor. Well, you look no further. We can talk. We can talk, Leslie. So just inbox me, and we can talk about your project and see if my company is a good fit for you. Okay? I'm glad to have a great experience. Wow, good. Okay. So there is no questions. And cool. If you think of some, let me know. Inbox me, and we can go from there. All right? I love you guys. Some information. Great, Leslie. I look forward to inboxing you. It's one of my authors right now, Cherie Braswell. She did a couple of projects and got a couple more coming out from my company. And it's such an awesome working with her. Just a dear heart. Just a dear heart. All right. I love y'all. God bless y'all. And I look forward to reading your project. God bless. See you soon.